know, a few of us, we were by my house watching the fights yesterday, and then eventually, like, we ended up going to Jersey City because we met people like who wanted to watch with us, but I think they wanted to go out. They didn't really want to come here. Um, so we get to this one place. Well, actually, we watched the fights at one spot, and then we left and went somewhere else. And the story I'm about to tell you happened at the next place. So like it was kind of like upstairs was like bar with big screens, and then downstairs was like more of like a club. And we were kind of like going back and forth, but mostly upstairs because I mean it was like me, the people watching might not know them, but like Brooke, Amy, so like people who aren't as into the club stuff, and I'm included in that honestly. So like we were upstairs for some of the time, and all of a sudden, oh, and I forgot Ed was there too because Ed is actually very important to this. So this guy, he walks past us, and Ed notices that he has a USA hockey jersey on, and Ed was just like, "Oh, nice jersey, man." And the guy was just out of it, and he's like, "Thank you, bro. I appreciate that." He's like, "Hell yeah, USA." And he was like, "Hey, you guys watch the UFC?" And we were like, "Yeah." And he pulls up. He didn't pull. This is what I'm saying. He pulled up FanDuel. He didn't pull up his, or he didn't pull up FanDuel. He pulled up his camera roll, and he shows us a bet slip that wasn't put in yet. So like, I would imagine if anything, he probably screenshot it, maybe sent it to a couple of buddies. But like the screenshot he showed us, it had a parlay for the UFC, but it wasn't placed yet. And the parlay was for the entire main card at like plus, I think like 3,000 something odds, and he got every fight right on it. The thing is, he showed us a picture of the slip when the bet wasn't placed yet. So we're thinking in our heads, wow, we never saw proof that he actually placed the bet. So like, because I feel like if I was showing somebody a winning bet slip, I'd show them the actual slip, not the camera roll thing of something I didn't put in. But anyway. So he tells us that, yeah, I forget how much he bet on it, but he would have won. It was 200 something thousand dollars. And so he was like balling out. He was getting drinks. And then he says, "You guys want shots?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure." And like we were expecting him to maybe get like, I don't know, something like vodka or like green tea or something like light. This dude bought $240 worth of Clase Azul tequila shots, and like that effectively ended my night because after that, like, you know me, I'm a whiskey drinker. Like I can take a pretty good punch like when it comes to alcohol. I took a shot of that after like already having obviously stuff earlier in the night, and like it was the first time in years where like I actually needed a chaser or I was gonna like it was gonna be bad. But like this guy, he was so excited. He was like, he wanted to buy drinks for everybody at the bar, which was like a big place. This wasn't like a tiny dive bar. And I don't know what ended up happening with that. And like, but the thing is, we were saying to ourselves, like, did this guy actually place the bet? Because we never actually saw proof that he placed the bet. So we're like, if he didn't, he's going to wake up tomorrow morning or today and just be like, oh no. Because I get being that happy when you get a whole main card parlay. That's $200,000. That's a lot of money.
Oh, man.
But yeah, we never saw proof that he actually placed the bet. So we kept saying to ourselves, like, man, we hope this guy actually placed that parlay on the main card, because if he didn't and he just bought us $240 worth of shots, he's going to be in a really bad mood today. And like, this all stemmed from our friend Ed just saying to him, "Hey man, nice jersey." And then he just went on a whole tangent about the UFC and showed us that main card parlay that would have hit if he did in fact place it. So I hope he placed it. If you're out there, man, and you somehow see this, I hope you placed that bet and you won that $200K. Because if not, I am so sorry.
Yeah, like legit. If he already had started drinking before the main card and he's already in the state of mind and he's feeling himself, he places and he takes a screenshot to send to his friends.
He's going to look on FanDuel today and he's going to see like the unfinished bet. Like, do you want to place this? He's like, oh no. It was so funny.
See his account, there's like zero. There's nothing. There's nothing in there. Oh God.
And then the funniest thing too, the guy didn't hear, but Amy said to him at one point when he was trying to get us the shots, she goes, "Maybe you should invest some of that." we're at a bar in Jersey City. This guy is like piss drunk. Just apparently wins $200K betting on the UFC 328 main card. Buys us $240 worth of shots, and Amy's first instinct is to be like, "Yeah, you should probably invest some of that." But then that's what we were saying afterwards. We're like, we never actually saw the real bet slip, so
Wait,
like he might not have actually won.
How much did he put down on there?
I forget. He did show us.
You said this was at plus 3,000?
Something like that. It might have been even more than that, honestly. I mean, we were kind of hazy ourselves when he was showing it to us, but we know it was on his camera roll. Yeah, man. I hope that guy won, because if he didn't, his bank account is not going to be happy with him this morning. He's going to be getting 10 missed calls from TD Bank or Capital One or whatever this guy's got for credit card charges. But yeah, like I said, bro,
nuts.
if you're out there, thank you, and I hope you won. I really hope you won, because if you did, what a pull, and especially with the main event, because like he got lucky on a couple of them.
This main card, all the underdogs won seemingly.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, the lines for like Joaquin Buckley and Sean Brady are moving.
Yeah, that shifted a lot, didn't it? So I don't really know.
Didn't mean anything though.
Yeah.
And then Tetsuya, Taira, and Josh Van.
I
think Josh Van was the dog anyways, and that also shifted a significant amount.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the odds for that. It was like plus or minus 100, like when you go to both sides. So like, I could see that one swinging a little quicker. But I heard about the Brady Buckley stuff.
Yeah. Wow.
But the guy got lucky if he did in fact place that bet, because the main event, and to hop right into that, because I do want to talk about this. Sean Strickland upset Khamzat Chimaev, hands him his first professional loss, wins the middleweight title back by split decision, 2 48-47 scorecards and 1 48-47 for Khamzat. I'm just gonna be real, like this isn't at all meant to be like disrespectful to Sean Strickland, because he did fight well. This fight between Strickland and Chimaev is one of the worst robberies I can remember. Like, the last time I had this feeling was when John Jones beat Dominic Reyes when he shouldn't have. And I think that this fight was closer than that. Although maybe not. Like, I'd probably have to rewatch Jones versus Reyes to think about that one, honestly, because it's been a little bit since I watched that. But when I was watching the fight live, and I rewatched it again this morning, I gave Strickland round 2, and that was it. Maybe round 3. And I thought he'd let round 3 get away from him at the end. I thought he was winning the early part of it, and then kind of just was getting lit up near the end. I didn't like the decision on that one. I didn't think he won the fight. I didn't we were all standing there too watching live, and we were like, yeah, Khamzat obviously 4-1, and then when it said 48-47, I was like, all right, I could see giving him 2 rounds, sure. And then split decision comes, I'm like, okay, that makes it a little more interesting. And when they get to the last one and Khamzat wins, I was like, I'm saying, I'm expecting Khamzat to win. And then they call it for Strickland. I was like, geez, I don't know, man. But good for him. I mean, either way, the thing with Strickland too, here's the thing with Sean Strickland. But, the achievement of what he's done, because now he's a 2-time middleweight champion, and the 2 times he's won the middleweight title were massive upsets against guys who he clearly was not favored to beat. And whether you think Strickland won this fight or not, it's still an insane achievement. He fought well against Khamzat, a lot better than anybody else really has, maybe outside of Gilbert Burns. It was a good performance by him. I just didn't think he won the fight. He did things well, he countered well. Khamzat would throw a lot of overhands looping in, and Sean would counter with some nice combinations. The jab was on all night. The things that Sean Strickland does well, he was doing well. But I just don't think he was doing it often enough to win the fight and win rounds. Because I still think Khamzat had control of him for 3 of the 5 rounds. That right there, to me, gives Khamzat 3 rounds. And it wasn't like it was weak control. Most of the time he was on his back, when he had him on the ground. So I I was very shocked when Strickland won the fight. Like, I'm not gonna be one of these fans who's gonna like cry about it and like disrespect Strickland because of it, because it's not his fault. But yeah, man, I just didn't agree with the decision.
Yeah, I disagree. I disagree.
Well, you're wrong. I just wanted to look at you like, no.
That's eso, brother. That's eso. No. Look. I disagree, and part of it has to do with the fact that I think at the very least a split decision was in order, and if it went one way or the other, then I understood. Then I would have understood, but I when it comes to robberies of fights, I look at okay, how egregious really is the scoring of each round, and I didn't see that for really any of them, and I think like because if you really want to boil it down, which I think it's fair and you should boil it down to that round five, that's how close it really was. Now here's the other thing, right? Because you have people like Joe Rogan who are like, this is the greatest middleweight title fight I've ever seen, and that
Did he really say that? I didn't hear the commentary, and even this morning I was watching it with the commentary
something
off.
along those lines, like that was definitely said, and
Damn.
that
I don't know about that one, but
if that was the case, then I think cause for a robbery one way or the other. In your case, for Khamzat's case, is a lot more warrant to call, I think, but it was really just the when it came to the feet, right? It was the Hamzat's body shots landing efficiently enough versus Sean Strickland's jab landing enough. And Sean Strickland's jab lands so much that it's like it's really like it kind of really just boxes someone's head off in a way, because that's just the kind of guy he is. He's just that dirty kind of come right at you and just constantly, like, we all know by now the teep and jab forward, but it works. It works because he's coming forward, and at least in the beginning of the fight, it seemed like Hamza kind of had him circling, but I think it was really just a tale of two fights, and it got so close at the end that I don't see any robbery. I don't see it at all. I
just don't agree. Well, I'm looking at the stats now because I don't want to be wrong. But
With I think at least in that round two, which was the very
clearly Strickland.
The clearly Strickland round, where you had Khamzat whiff on the takedown attempt and then pull a guard. That also bodes well in Strickland's favor, and I just think how people are gonna look at it is that Khamzat mixes up the striking more, and Strickland sticks to his ones and twos, but
he really headhunted in this fight, like a lot. I remember towards the end they showed a stat. It was like Strickland had landed like 70 something punches to the head and like maybe 10 to the body and like nothing, literally nothing to the legs, maybe one. So I was like, damn, all right, he's going, which I thought was weird because like Khamzat's a guy who gets tired. So I was shocked that he didn't go to the body more.
Here's something that if you want to pull up the Fight Center stats real quick, because I want to know how many submission attempts were there for Khamzat.
Is that on the UFC fight stats that they have? I don't know if they have that. Oh no, they do. Mm-hmm. None. He didn't have any.
That's also good. That also is what really plays into why this was scored the way that it was. Because I liken it to the co-main, which we'll talk about after, in which Taira had plenty of control on and takedowns on Josh Van, but wasn't going for any kind of finish on the ground when they got there. So not to say obviously Khamzat's a whole nother animal, but
Yeah, I'm
Strickland.
thinking about this too. Like the first round of that fight, I'm surprised they didn't give him a submission attempt. He had like 2 choke attempts. Wasn't under the chin, but it was like on the chin, and he was trying to get it. I don't know like what they consider a submission attempt, but it's the same thing. It's like I don't know what they really consider a significant strike either. Like because apparently a jab is a significant strike, which sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. So like I don't know. I like the stats, and I was gonna talk about them a little bit too. Like I just I gave, like I said, when I was watching it, I gave Khamzat round one and then 3 through 5, and then when I rewatched it, I kind of softened on round 3 because that one was a lot closer to me. But I still like gave Khamzat the other 3 rounds. I just think that like the control time, and even on the feet, he was walking him down, and it wasn't like Strickland was running away with it, like outlanding him. Like he was outlanding him a little bit, but like not by enough to win the round. He wasn't doing damage. He was just hitting him with jabs, and like that's good. He's keeping him off of him. Like that's what I'm saying. Strickland did great against Khamzat, no matter who you think won the fight. Like I didn't think he'd even do what he just did. So like, but for me, the shots that were actually landing like with authority for the most part, besides maybe in round 2, were Khamzat. Like he was the one who was walking Strickland down. He would land occasionally some nice overhands, some good hooks, and Strickland was able to keep Khamzat off with the jab. I don't think that the damage was enough to give him a lot of those rounds. Like even the ones that he outlanded Khamzat in round 5. That's like another one I remember you were saying like could be like a decider. And I gave that one to Khamzat. And then Khamzat had 6 takedowns and only a minute and a half of control time officially. But like again, he was pushing the pace. He was landing. He only landed 9 less strikes, and he landed actually more accurately than Strickland in that round too. So like, I just I don't know, man. Like I definitely, don't get me wrong. I think it was closer than like I thought it was when I first watched it. But I still am like Khamzat won that fight to me. Like I didn't see enough that Strickland was getting the win there,
Here's
even
the
in the
other
rewatch.
thing when you take both fighter styles and Khamzat's in particular. I feel some tells me, and okay, well, I don't think it's something tells me. I think it's clear the judges decided who the winner was, but they're looking for Khamzat to land a takedown in every round. And when in that round 3, when they box for the first 3 minutes, it's close enough at least to where one could say Strickland landed the better shots and Khamzat looked a little tired on the feet, and that alone is a decide. And like so, that's the thing about it, right? It's like, oh, it's unfortunate that Strickland didn't do even more damage than he did, and then we could really get a clear verdict on who should have won this fight. But it's things like which is like that's more the standard that Khamzat is rightfully held to. I mean, he's just that kind of, even with 9 takedowns, like he goes one round without it, and it's like that right there.
No,
Either
and you're
round
right.
3,
Like it was close on the feet when he couldn't get him to the ground. And Strickland, I mean, I know he only defended 4 of I think the 13 takedown attempts, but like even like he was making it difficult for Khamzat to get him down. That's 100% true. I and I agree with you on that. I just think that the striking was close enough. Like the people, I was kind of like trying to see too like what other people were saying about it, just to see like if I was way off in my head. But then like people were acting like Strickland was running away with it on the feet. I'm like, I mean, he was winning the exchanges on the feet for some of the rounds, but like running away with it is a stretch to me. Like like I said, I don't want to take away from him because like he did. Like my problems with the judges, it's not really with Strickland. Like Strickland did the best that he could. I thought he had a really smart game plan. Although I do think he could have went to the body more and maybe he might have done a little more damage with that because Khamzat was clearly tired at multiple points in that fight. And it's weird because Strickland's usually a guy who does mix it up to the head and the body, even like with that prominent jab. But yeah, man, I think on this one we're probably just gonna agree to disagree, or else we're just gonna keep going in circles. But yeah, man, I just think Khamzat did more in this fight. I think Strickland did a lot of things well. I just don't think he was doing it often enough to get a nod for the decision. And it's like, I agree with you about like the striking points, but it's like you're also ignoring like multiple rounds where he had like a few minutes of control time and like a couple rounds where he was in like really dominant positions. And it's not like he was just in full guard, like just, holding him there like the Dricus fight. Like, especially in the first round. The first round, he almost submitted. That's what I'm saying. I'm shocked they didn't count those couple of choke attempts as submission attempts. Because, like, I know they weren't. I don't know if it has to be. Because that's the thing. I remember. I could be wrong about this. Like, I remember someone was debating a few years ago about like submission attempts and how they should count when it was Charles Oliveira versus Tony Ferguson, and Tony managed to not get tapped by that one arm bar, and people were like, well, should that arm bar mean anything because he didn't get it, and Tony still fights, and I'm like, well, yeah, it kind of should. Like if he's in a position where he can get that, he's clearly dominating the round. So, like, to me, the first, I'm sure you don't disagree with me on the first round. Like, Khamzat in that, he almost finished the fight in the first round, like, with that. Like, the choke wasn't under the chin, but it's like, well, what do we count as a submission attempt then? When it's under? Because when it's under, it's basically over. So, like, I don't even know, like, 99% of the time, in the UFC at least, when somebody has the choke fully locked under the chin, both hooks in, and, like, hand behind the head, it's a wrap. Like, I think the submission attempt criteria should be like a little before that because, like I said, at that point it's just done. Unless they're just crazy and they don't tap and then the guy lets go, which does happen. So maybe I'm wrong about that. But like, I just thought that in rounds 1 and then 4 and 5, Khamzat did enough to win those rounds. He was pressuring him. He was landing. Strickland outlanded him, I think, in a couple of those rounds, but by like single digits. So like, and again, we're thinking about this too. Strickland's not throwing like bombs at him. He's throwing jabs, 1-2s, like you said, and he really didn't mix it up at all. He didn't throw any leg kicks. He didn't really attack the body. But Khamzat, when he would land, it would actually kind of like it would cause some damage. I think Strickland was all bloody at the end too. And Khamzat was busted up himself too. I will give Strickland that, but it was a good fight. Like I do agree with that. I don't know what Rogan was talking about though. One of the best middleweight title fights ever. I think he might have forgot about like Izzy versus Gastelum, Silva versus Sonnen one. Sure, Adesanya versus Romero. No, I'm fucking around with that. Honestly, even Strickland versus Dricus, both of those fights. But I don't know. I don't agree. I think that Khamzat won, but like I'll admit that like some of the things that you're saying, I'm like considering a little more than I probably was. But I still think Khamzat got it 3 rounds to 2, like minimum 3 rounds to 2. But it is what it is. I'm not one to like cry about a result after it happens, even if I don't agree with it. I know a lot of fans like are like, oh, he didn't win that fight, so he's not the champion. Well, he has the belt at home, so like he is the champion whether you like it or not. So like it's a good win for Strickland. I actually do want to talk about what's next for both guys because I think that's an interesting conversation too. As for Sean Strickland, I think it's a little more unclear just because he's fought a lot of guys at middleweight and then also like the top contender right now who would be Imavov, he's already beaten him. But I do think a rematch could be fun, and I would think that that's the fight to make. I know some people were talking about maybe DDP because Dricus has beaten Strickland twice, but it's like he kind of just lost the title dominantly. So I kind of would like to see Dricus get another win. And I do think he'd only need one. I think if Dricus wins one fight, he should get a rematch against Strickland, considering their past history. I think Pfeiffer and Bohalio are like the only other two that are kind of up there right now. Maybe Brendan Allen too, but he has a fight booked, so I wasn't thinking of him. But Pfeiffer and Bohalio, I think that they need one more personally. So I think maybe they could fight each other. That'd be a fun fight. But Strickland, I think the Imavov one's the fight to make. I think that'd be a fun one. I don't know. What do you think about that? Because middleweight's in a weird spot now because Strickland's been around for a while and he's fought a lot of these guys. So.
You want to see Pfeiffer and Bohalio fight each other.
It would create the fresh contender because right now I'm talking about rematches. So I think if either of those guys win, they could definitely get catapulted to a title shot depending on, what the win looks like.
I don't know. I think that'd just be such a strange matchup. Like, sure, it might need to happen, but I don't.
I mean,
Part
they
of me
could fight
feels
anybody
like
else too.
Piper will be. Well, here's the thing. Like, and what we forget about Joe Piper is that he is a really good grappler as well. But he's a guy. He wants to. He wants to finish the fight, and he wants to do it via knockout. And for me, it's like if he comes forward on a Kyle Barajo, then Barajo either is just gonna circle out and evade like he's so good at doing, counter striking, or Piper's just gonna be hesitant to pressure on the front foot. Maybe he
Yeah.
does shoot a little bit more, and I don't know. It just would may I don't because it's like also too. What would you It's interesting. What kind of? I guess it would be a 3 round fight, so
Yeah,
not so
probably.
bad.
Unless they do like a main event of a fight night
I
or
think
something.
that would be telling enough. Would we see enough to know like this guy's ready for the title shot, but it's
That's kind
just
of what I want to see with it because, especially for Joe Piper more than anybody, because I'm not sold yet. Like that Adesanya win, like because Izzy, I don't think that's the same Izzy. So like it's still impressive that he beat him because I think even at the diminished state, Izzy's still one of the more elite welter or middleweights. But that's kind of why I want to see Piper fight a guy like Bohalio because we know Bohalio is a top contender. He's in his prime, and if Piper could beat him, then we have a real contender on our hands. And Bohalio, he kind of needs another win too because Imavov is ahead of him because he's already beaten Kaio. And DDP, I think, is in a unique position because he's beaten the champion twice, where, like, I think no matter who he fights, if he gets a win, he's going to be another guy who's right up there. So I'm not saying I get like I'm. That's just a fight that I want to see. Like I'm not saying it needs to happen. Like you could match them up against probably. I mean, let's look at the rankings. Um, I mean, Fluffy's still
say
out there.
Emo.
RDR. Can't like we're getting kind of low at this point because middleweight's weird right now too because Adesanya's like kind of not not the same anymore. Whitaker's moving to 205, and then like RDR, Cannonier, like maybe and then you're going down to like Christian Leroy Duncan and like Gregory Rodriguez at this point. So like it's kind of a logjam right now at the top. I think like Piper versus Bohalio might be the only fight that makes sense just because of like who's around them. To be honest with you, um, I would watch like maybe I don't know like Joe Piper versus RDR or something, but like I think Piper versus Bohalio would answer more questions about both of them, and then you'd have a fresh contender, in the works. And then one of those guys would have to be coming off of a loss, and then you could match them up against RDR, Fluffy, maybe Izzy, if because he says he's going to keep fighting. Um, it's interesting. I think Strickland winning this fight really was like a wild card and like has changed everything because before this the whole narrative was like, well, if Khamzat wins this fight, is he going to stay, is he going to move up to 180 or 205? And now that Strickland won, we have top contenders who have already fought him, and then we have a couple of other contenders who are like in a position where they're maybe like one more away, where like they're not quite there yet. You can't really justify it. But and I kind of touched on the Khamzat thing. Dana White literally confirmed after the fight that Khamzat doesn't want to fight at middleweight anymore. So Khamzat will be moving up to 205 unless he changes his mind, which honestly I don't know why he would. He
Yeah,
looked
I mean,
terrible on the scales, like terrible. He looked worse than he did at welterweight sometimes.
yeah,
Like I don't know what happened.
It's understandable. I mean, uh, the guy before he won the title, we were just waiting and chomping at the bit for him to actually be active again and get in the cage in the first place, and just with just how much he had to cut the weight in the first place and then overtrain during camp to where it would lead to injuries and stuff and just not ready, just not in fight shape, and so we had to wait a while for Hamza to get to this point in the first place. So I think the UFC really needs to protect that investment in him because that's the guy you really don't want to see leave sooner than, even then even he's ready to leave. You know what I mean? So much less us as watching, like, we know that this guy is an absolute just one of the best. I mean, it's just, I wish, like, here's the thing, because if he could have defended
it's a Strickland fight week. Anytime you say it, it's gonna come out. Here's the thing about Khamzat, you guys.
Set that up really nicely. The guy really just makes a kiss as one of the most, I think, just unique and innovative middleweights and just mixed martial artists of this decade, and one that we've seen in a long time. And it's just unfortunate that, for one, that, okay, he's not the champ anymore, but also he doesn't want to fight at this division anymore. So I just think it's a guy that you really gotta protect the worth of. You gotta give him the right fights that people are going to be invested enough in. I mean, even because even the way he beat Dricus du Plessis, I mean, that's domination throughout all 5 rounds. And I mean, that's, for me personally, like, that's what I want to see. I mean, well, the thing is, he beat Dricus for the title, and the original point I made was that, man, like, Dricus as the champion, I want to see more of a fight from the champion. But for him to be the challenger and do that to the champion, it goes to show you, it's like, he was always the uncrowned champ. So I'm hoping that, I think the matchups are out there at 205. It's just how the UFC is gonna or is Khamzat gonna allow them to fast track it and just try to get him into that top 5 as quick as possible.
I mean, probably. You could argue that Khamzat could be worthy of a title shot immediately, just because if he was already champion. Like, the 205 right now is kind of a ghost town.
That's true. Like, we did, and they did mention that already.
I could see it. I could see a world.
It makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting thing for me because I think he beats everybody in that division, if I'm being honest. And I remember for a time I used to think that, like, Khamzat at 205, like, the size might start to catch up a bit, because then he's not going to be the biggest guy in there anymore. But I think his skills are just so far above.
They should just give him the title shot immediately.
To me, it's like, why wait? Like, why waste his time? Why waste our time? Like, I think that he would be a fun fight for Ulberg. Well, Ulberg's going to be out for a while, but yeah. I mean, it's going to be fun, though, when he does go up to 205. It'll be interesting to see if he can get a second belt up there, which I think he will, honestly. It might be the best version of Khamzat we'll ever see. I mean, I think he could dominate that division for a while if he gets the belt with the current crop of contenders that are there right now. So, interesting main event, that's for sure. What's up, guys? Sorry to interrupt the podcast real quick, but we have a message for you guys.
If you enjoy the Her Handbook's content, you want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like on the videos, all sorts of fight content as much as possible, podcasts, interviews, vlogs. We have it all over here, so thank you, appreciate it.
We appreciate you, and like he said, please subscribe. And now, back to the show. The co-main event was a classic, too. I mean, Joshua Van defeats Tatsuro Taira, TKO in the 5th round. Questionable stoppage aside, this fight was just fantastic from both of them, because, like, they both had moments of adversity and they both were able to overcome them, like, multiple points in the fight. And, like, this fight almost felt like a movie fight, because, it was so back and forth. In the first round, Tatsuro Taira, like, dominated Joshua Van. You're like, okay, Van might not have much of an answer for this grappling, although he was able to get up a couple of times, which is promising. And then round 2 was kind of more the same. And then Joshua Van just hits Tatsuro with a big shot and almost finishes him. Yeah. And then round 3, same thing, almost finished him. You think at that point, all right, well, Taira's getting lit up here. I think he might be too damaged. Round 4 comes along, and Taira dominates most of that round. And it's like, all right, well, 2-2 going into the 5th here. Like, that fight, you're just like, now we have a fight. Like, and then it was so weird the way when I was watching it. It was for me, it went by so quickly because it was so crazy for like the first 4 rounds. Like when it got to the 5th round, I'm like, oh damn, 2-2. I'm like, all right, here we go. And then Van, obviously, the finishing sequence was good. Like he definitely had Taira hurt, but I think the stoppage might have been a little early. And I'm not saying that it wouldn't have been ended in a couple of seconds after that, but man, I would have been interested to see what the scorecards would have been for this fight if it would have gotten there. I think Van probably would have taken it, but it was a great fight. I mean, people complaining about the early stoppage, that's like nitpicking to me because this fight was fantastic, and it's not like Van was, it's not like Taira was up 4 rounds to 0 and then they stopped it early. It was a close fight, and Taira was definitely hurt. It wasn't the best stoppage I've ever seen. That's for sure.
He was hurt. He was tired. He was
the body shot too that hurt him, which is definitely different than getting hit in the head. Like because you get hit in the head, you're rocked. You can kind of hold up a little bit, but you get hit to the body in the right spot, it's game over, man. And he was definitely badly hurt by the end of that.
And he was telegraphing his takedown.
Yeah, that's attempts. True. I think Van was starting to see the tendencies a bit. That's for sure. It was a really good fight, though. I mean, I don't know if I have much like analysis on it because the fight kind of went, how we were.
Nah, like not much. I think it was kind of just well, especially that right hand. I mean, for a flyweight to have the right hand just the boxing that Josh Van has, but that right hand especially that knocked Taira down, to have that as a flyweight is like that's kind of the stuff that makes Josh Van the champion now. And now he's proven in a full-fledged fight that he is worthy of holding that title and defending it. And just Taira is exciting and all. He's a guy who's gonna bring a granite chin in his own right, and he's gonna bring a flurry of takedown attempts, grappling, and even striking. But man, like he's really gotta like move his head more, get his guard up more, and just not and also it's one thing to circle and whatnot and let Van take center stage and just combo his head off and the body, but when it did get to the ground, and I mean, Taira wasn't. Taira. See, here's the thing, right? Again,
here's the thing. Here's the thing about this little guy, Taira, because he was talking about Taira this week.
If Tatsuro Taira really wanted to just camp mount for 25 minutes, we would have gotten the nod. That's the crazy thing. But I think Tatsuro Taira is good for UFC in the sense that he's not like he is because he is so effective as a grappler. Like he wants to show that he can hang on the feet too, and that he can hold his own on the feet, and he can give an exciting performance on the feet as well, and that he is a well-rounded mixed martial artist, and why he's in the title picture. But yeah, Josh Van, just great guard retention and good work off his back. Even when he was on his back, he was throwing and landing punches. So
I was impressed by his get-ups too at some certain points in this fight. There were points too where Taira was obviously able to dominate him, but he managed to escape from full mount like multiple times and get back to his feet.
It was just an inspiring performance that you really want. I think obviously everybody needed to be what should I say? I guess maybe vindicated. If you were someone who was like, no, this wasn't a fluke of him beating Pantoja, which I mean it just was, because it's just injuries happen, freak injuries happen. He had to prove it the way he did last night either way, and so now those people who did always back Josh Van, they are proven right in why he's very worthy of holding the flyweight title.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. It was an inspiring performance. He overcame a lot to win this fight, and honestly, even Tatsuro Taira, like I said, I was impressed by him. that fight looked like it was going to be over at certain points in round 2 and
It
round
was
3, and he
pretty
managed to
much
come back.
just
So
what was going to be more dominant. Was it going to be Tatsuro Taira's ground control, or was it going to be Josh Van's boxing? And the boxing is what prevailed. So
yeah, and I agree with that. I think you got to make Van versus Pantoja too. I mean, I think that chapter needs to be closed because it seems like Pantoja wasn't as badly hurt as like it seemed. You know, I think he's recovered at this point or near it. Um, I think that I think they got to make that fight. I think that people are gonna still kind of question that, even if I think obviously title defenses will like shut it up a little bit more, but Pantoja's still lurking there, and it's like I can't see giving Van another fight if Pantoja's ready to go. I would love to see them do that again, especially after this fight, honestly, because now, we've seen a lot more of Joshua Van against elite competition, elite grappling, which we know Pantoja has as well. I'd be very intrigued to see how that fight goes. If we get a full 25 minutes or however long it'll last, hopefully not a minute.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah, it was a great win for Josh Van, and awesome fight. Flyweight, man, had some great title fights at that weight class. I know that people like to kind of shit on it sometimes, but we've been flyweight proponents, I think, on the show now for a minute, and I think that this fight really showed us that like it's time to really get excited about this next generation of flyweights. Van, Taira, Lonnie Kavanaugh. And guys like Pantoja and Brandon Royval, Brandon Moreno, they're still around. Like they're still there at the top. Uh, I would love to. I would love to see Van fight Pantoja again because I think it would be good. I'd view that fight a lot differently than I did the first fight going into it. So great win by him, man. Um, Speaking of fights with title implications, though, the heavyweight fight that we had on this card wasn't the greatest fight of all time. I don't really want to get too far into that. Like, I think Volkov kind of just clearly beat him up on the feet. But I wanted to talk about Volkov a lot because I don't think he's getting enough credit for like what he's been able to do in like recent years. I mean, he's won 6 of his last 7 fights. His only 2 losses in recent UFC history are Ciryl Gane and Tom Aspinall, so literally the best of the best at heavyweight. He's kind of just the victim of the logjam that we have at the top right now at heavyweight because Aspinall's waiting on the winner for Pereira versus Gane. So that's 2 title fights that we're going to have before Volkov even has a chance to sniff the title. So he's going to have to stay active. But I do want to say that Volkov has put himself in a position where like he really should be one away, because if it wasn't for what's been going on at heavyweight, you could argue that he deserves a title shot right now just because of all the guys he's beaten already. Um, it's interesting though, man. I just feel like he doesn't get the credit that he deserves. I think a lot of people view him as almost like a journeyman because of like he's been around for a long time and he's had some rough losses earlier in his career, but I don't know, man. Like these past few years, he's looked really good. And beating a guy like Waldo Cortes-Acosta, who I know me and you are both high on, I'm impressed, man. It sucks that he's going to have to wait for a title shot if he's going to get it. And it scares me, too, because like if he fights again, you obviously risk losing. But yeah, man, shout out to Volkov. That was fantastic. I don't know if you had any like more thoughts than that. I just kind of wanted to give him his credit, as a true just dark horse of the heavyweight division.
Yeah, it really is. I think because we were all, I think we were more looking at Aldo Cortez Acosta as this surging, very active contender now, and if he gets this win over Volkov, I think it's pretty much it's kind of a weird dynamic how if Cortez Acosta wins this fight, he he might just, I mean, there's probably a better chance he's next in line and his next fight's a title shot than right what actually happened with Volkov winning, and Volkov is likely gonna have to win another fight. So, but it's a very good it's encouraging for Volkov because he has been here a while. He does have a strong resume, and I think yeah, people are ready to count him out and just see if Waldo Cortes-Acosta is like the next true great heavyweight. So
And Volkov turned him back, man. Like, it's impressive. It really is impressive. He's beaten a lot of good guys over the past few years, and like I said, he's only lost to the best. I'll literally tell you, like, real quick too, just to give you an idea. Like, in 2022, he lost to Aspinall, to start with the champ, but then he goes on a 4-fight win streak with 3 finishes. He beats Rosenstruck, Alexander Romanov, Tai Tuivasa, which, I mean, that win, I think, at this point is irrelevant. But he also got him with an Ezekiel choke, which is crazy. But then beat Sergey Pavlovich. I remember that was a pretty close fight. But, like, that's a big win for him. Then he lost the split decision to Ciryl Gane. Then gets a win over Jailton Almeida, which I remember that was a close fight, too. But then he beats Waldo Cortes-Acosta dominantly, and kind of like you were saying, I think that they were trying to put Waldo over in this fight, and it just didn't really work out for the UFC in that sense. And now they got Volkov, who's just chomping at the bit near the top, and he's kind of just waiting to see what happens with the rest of the division. But it was a good win by him. I love to see the veterans figuring it out and getting it done, turning back the youngins. But let's move on to this welterweight fight. Sean Brady versus Joaquin Buckley. I mean, dude, I put it in the outline because it talk about quote aging so poorly. Joaquin Buckley channeled his inner Marshawn Lynch in the press conference, or not the press conference. It was media day on Wednesday, and basically every question that he was asked, he summed it up with, "We gonna find out May 9th. We gonna find out May 9th." And Sean Brady had one scorecard that was a 30-25. So
yeah, 30 fucking 20.
We found out. I think we found out. I'm kind of messing around. I like Buckley, honestly. But, like, he had just no answers for Sean Brady's grappling skills. And then when Buckley would manage to get back on the feet, he was just swinging so wildly, no footwork whatsoever, and it just made it easy for Brady to get him back to the ground. Like, it felt like Buckley was just in a panic every time he was able to get back to the feet, because it was just like, I got to hurt this guy before he takes me down again. But meanwhile, that strategy is what's getting him taken down again and again. And I think maybe the Usman fight might have played a role in that too, because he got taken down a bunch in that fight. So maybe he didn't want that to happen again. And I think it was even worse in this fight. Just Sean Brady looked really good. Buckley looked really bad. And
there might really only be one welterweight on the planet who's hanging with the wrestling prowess of Sean Brady, and it's Islam fucking Makhachev.
Well, or 2 if you want to count Morales, because Morales did kind of spark him.
Oh yeah,
that was pretty quick. I put that in the outlet too. I'm like, well, I think that maybe, because that's kind of my thing with Sean Brady. I'm curious what you think about this, because he's talked about this publicly, so it's not like I'm making this up. He's considered going down to lightweight because he is small for a welterweight. He's big, but like in terms of like his actual size, he's not the biggest guy in the division. And I think that, like you're just saying, if he were to fight Islam Makhachev, I think that would play a major role, because Islam's a big dude. And so is Brady, but like just not the same extent. And I think that if he could get down to lightweight, which I guess maybe he could if he was even considering it in the first place, that would be interesting to me. But I just feel like he has elite skills on the ground, but due to his size, I think that like against the cream of the crop at welterweight, I think that that's going to come to haunt him, because I think if he can't get those guys down, we've kind of seen that he's not technical enough on the feet to hang with some of the top guys. I mean, look what Morales did to him, man, and how quickly he did that to him. So it's like if Brady can't get these guys down, it's kind of tough on the feet for him. And I don't know, like maybe that would be less of a problem.
No, that's the thing, right? Because not, these these top 5 welterweights are not going to swing as wild as a Joaquin Buckley, and they're going to be weary of, even when it comes to throwing knees and kicks, that they're going to make sure that it doesn't get caught, and that Sean Brady doesn't just wrestle them to the ground with ease. And I mean, in this fight, it was just Sean Brady just beating Joaquin Buckley to a pulp on the ground when
I
he
did hear
had
the
him.
commentary. I think it was DC who said that he was hitting him like Donkey Kong because he really was. He was literally
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
like, jeez. I thought they were gonna
It's
stop the
like
fight at
beating
one
a
point.
drum or something.
Yeah, Sean Brady would be he'd be a really good drummer probably. But yeah, I mean this was a dominant win. It's just like when I think about it though, I'm like, yeah, but for me it's like we already knew that Sean Brady could do this to people. So like, yeah, we learned that like he could do it to a guy like Buckley who obviously is really good himself, but I struggle to see him beating the guys like Islam Morales or even honestly Ian Gary too because Ian Gary has great takedown defense, and I think that seems to be the problem with Brady at welterweight. Honestly, it seems like the guys who are able to stuff the takedowns can beat him fairly easily because like Bilal Muhammad knocked him out too, didn't he? I'm almost certain. I think he got a finish over.
Knocked him out.
I know. I think he beat him. I'm not. Maybe he didn't knock him
Well,
out, but
Bilal's Muhammad's way to the championship.
yeah, I'm about to look just to make sure. I don't want to like misspeak on that because that is a pretty big deal. Yeah, he got TKO'd by Bilal Muhammad, and Bilal's another guy who's like has amazing takedown defense and was able to keep the fight on the feet. And like, dude, you know how many people mess with Bilal Muhammad about not being able to finish fights, and it's like he managed to finish
I mean,
Sean
yeah,
Brady.
that's really impressive.
It's something to really pay attention to with Sean Brady. Like, I really think that people are kind of like, I think there's a big problem in MMA with like recency bias. And like you see Sean Brady have a 30-25 over Joaquin Buckley. It's like, bring him to the top. But it's like you can't forget like the things that happened in the fights that he lost. And especially considering that it's the same things in each fight. It's like he can't get the guy to the ground and then he gets lit up on the feet.
Yeah, no, I would want him to stay at 170. If he moves down to 155, that striking is really gonna have to improve and hang.
You'd have to wonder how it's going to affect his chin if he's cutting a lot of weight to get there. I mean, I don't know what he walks around at, but he's a pretty like big dude, but he's not like tall, so that's like kind of the other thing. I mean, he said it. He said that he could do it, but I don't know. I agree with you though. I think for now, like you stay at 170. For me, it's more just like an interesting conversation. Like, what if he did go down to lightweight? Like, would these problems be solved? Because a lot of the times at welterweight when he's not able to take these guys down, it's because they're bigger.
I mean, you just have, I mean, Michael Morales is an anomaly in the sense that he's such a lethal striker, but
and he's a big guy. Like that's the other. He's a huge guy, and he has great judo too.
So like a Joaquin Buckley, how Joaquin Buckley needed to beat Sean Brady was the way that Bilal Muhammad beat Sean Brady pretty much.
Yeah, stuff the takedowns.
Yeah, you gotta
fight him on the feet.
Embrace Sean Brady, shooting the takedowns. You gotta be able to stuff it, and it's like, yeah, I mean, walking, but it's really easy for Walking Buckley to be like, nah, I didn't train wrestling at all during this cow, but it's also like, even if that's the case, like,
wait, did he actually say that?
I think he actually, I think he went on Instagram Live last night after.
That's
like,
crazy. I mean, if he was injured, I get that, but like, that's wild if you're fighting Sean Brady and you're not wrestling in camp. But
I don't know. I mean, I think because clearly it just didn't play the way that he figured it would. Probably he was just hoping that like Sean Brady's he's going to come into his range one way or the other, and that Joaquin is just going to be able to land, that one punch that he's able to do. But, it couldn't have went the whole other way, because I think it's just Joaquin Buckley just not being able to figure out at all. And then obviously as the fight went on, now he's just panicked, because even when he would get up, like now he feels like, okay, I have to drop him as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And the strikes are not calculated at all. He's just swinging for the fences, and then like I said, throw in the knees and the kicks, and that just makes it even easier for Sean Brady to just grab a leg and get it back to the ground.
Yeah, I guess my point with this fight is just like it was a great win. I just didn't like. I knew this about Sean Brady. Like we knew he could do this to guys.
Yeah, we knew about Sean Brady. Yeah,
so
we did. Yeah,
it was impressive though. Like he deserves a lot of credit. But I'm curious to see what they do with him next. To be honest, But last fight on the main card to talk about, got to talk about the unction, dude, with King Green versus Jeremy Stevens.
Yeah.
I mean, dominant win for King Green. Great rear naked choke with no hooks. I don't know if you caught that. When I was watching it, like, as it happened, I didn't even realize that he didn't have the hooks because I was, like, so excited. I was like, oh, my God, he's got him. But then when they show the replay, like, in slow-mo, you see that, like, his legs are kind of, like, hanging off the side. Like, he didn't have it. And he just was squeezing, and Jeremy Stevens tapped. It was, like, that was nuts. Like, that was really nuts. And I love fights like this, too, because, you know, we've talked about it before, but, like, in the UFC nowadays, a lot of the times those older fighters are fed to the new names to, you know, put them over. And we don't get as many of these fights where it's like a veteran versus a veteran nowadays, or not enough of them at least. And when they made this matchup to start the main card, like, everybody knew, like, this is going to be all action no matter how long it lasts. And that's really what it was. So shout out to King Green. But one other OG of the fight game that I want to shout out before we go here, because I think he deserves it, especially for getting a win in the home state of New Jersey. Jim Miller. How about Jim Miller? I mean, beating Jared Gordon like that. I didn't know what to think going into this fight because Jared Gordon's a good fighter, man. Like, Jim Miller, just after all these years, he's still able to just put a beating on some people. Like, good lightweights, man. He's fantastic.
He's just an incredibly sharp, high IQ fighter. And it's obviously with age, your physical ability is gonna deteriorate, but man, I guess you just get even sharper as a fighter the more experience you get. Because, yeah, because he couldn't have played it any more perfectly. I mean, he could have emptied the tank in that first round, and probably what Jared Gordon would have wanted. But what a high level. What a high level grappler he is on the ground.
Cody Garbrandt reference there.
Yeah, that doesn't, that's kind of stuff just doesn't happen anymore with 40-year-olds just straight getting first round finishes over guys who are supposed to beat them.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, he's looked great. I mean, the only losses that he really has are against, like, really good fighters, honestly. So, and Jared Gordon's good himself, but, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, the longevity that Jim Miller's had, you just don't see that, like, very often. Even at the top, you don't really see it a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Like, there's a lot of guys who, like, come and go, and, like, they're not winning a lot of fights, like, after they hit their peak. But, like, Jim Miller, man, he just keeps on trucking.
810.
UFC 400 next to him? He might. But shout out to him, man. I mean, like, he deserves this more than anybody. I mean, I don't know how much you saw during fight week, but, like, his son was battling, like, a rare form of cancer, and he said after the fight, obviously, that his son was cancer-free, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And, like, even before that, I remember he had the big thing with Lyme disease and, like, earlier in his career, and, like, that almost ended his career. So, like, this dude has been through so much, and, like, the fact that he's in his 40s and he's, like, still doing this to high level fighters, it's just awesome to see. And we're biased because we're from Jersey, so, like,
yeah,
we like Jim Miller. But who doesn't like
shame,
Jim Miller?
Exactly.
Who doesn't like Jim Miller? If you hate Jim Miller, there's something wrong with you.
You can't now. You absolutely can after last night.
Yeah, that's true. You'd have to be a different type of psychopath to hate on Jim Miller after that. But, you know, it was a fun card in Jersey. Definitely had some weird moments too, just throughout the night, I guess. But the fights themselves were pretty phenomenal. I enjoyed watching most of it, and yeah, man. I mean, another numbered card in the books. Next week, I'm super excited for this Netflix card. I'm gonna be covering. I'll get into that in a second. But Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano is next week. Co-main event: Nate Diaz versus Mike Perry. Francis Ngannou versus Felipe Lins. Then there's, like, a bunch of really good fights scattered onto the undercard. I was sad that Chimaev fell out of his fight due to visa issues, but the fight that they booked in place of that was a really good one too. That guy, I think it's Fumi Nakuda. I don't want to say it wrong. Let me just double check that. Let's see. Rousey versus Carano. Should have probably had this up. Yeah. Oh, yeah, true. I forgot about this one, too. Saladin Parnasse, who's, like, one of the best fighters right now who's outside of the UFC. He's fighting on this card. Junior Dos Santos versus Robelis de Spain. That's a crazy fight.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, they don't have it up there. MVP, you gotta update your site. Yeah, Fumi Nakuda though, he's like one of the best fighters actually out of our region. I think he's a Cerro Longo guy actually. So out of Long Island over there with those guys, and that's going to be a really big test for him fighting Adriano Moraes, who's former one champion, beat Demetrius Johnson at one point, which was phenomenal. This is going to be a fun card. The people who are hating on this, they're just, I'll never understand it, like why people are such UFC bootlickers, like when they're getting, literally the UFC tells you that they don't care about you. Just remember, shut the fuck up and watch the fights. But like, these are the guys you're defending. So it's like, why are people hating on something that's different, man? Like, I know people hate Ronda Rousey because of like the way her career ended, but man, I'm grateful that we have like some excitement in MMA that's not the UFC. So like, this card is stacked from start to finish. It's gonna be on Netflix. A lot of people are gonna see it. I'm excited, man. It's gonna be a good card.
And even then, if somebody feels like that, the 6 fighters in these featured fights, they've all fought in UFC. So,
well, you know what my problem is too? Like, this might turn into a little rant. Like, I see a lot of people saying, well, nobody wanted to see Ronda Rousey fight. No one wanted to see Nate Diaz fight in the UFC. It's like, well, the UFC did because they offered them fights and they declined it for this. So don't say that nobody wants to see these fights because the UFC tried to book them. So, like... And, not the exact matchups. Well, Rousey Carano, they did try to book multiple times, and they tried it recently, and then it didn't work out. And then Nate Diaz, they offered Nate Diaz a bunch of money to try and get the trilogy with Conor McGregor, but MVP gave him a better deal, and he took that fight instead. We obviously know what happened with Francis Ngannou, who's still the lineal MMA heavyweight champion, if you think about it. I don't get the hate on this card. It's doing nothing but like adding excitement to a sport right now that has been just more dulled out than ever. And I would love it if this event did really good. And I think it's gonna. It's on Netflix. It's obviously gonna have a lot of eyeballs on it. I still maintain that this is gonna be the most watched MMA event of the year just due to the scale of it. Definitely. Probably more than the White House card, because of Netflix, man. Netflix, how many people have that? Like, you're gonna get a lot of eyeballs on it. And Ronda Rousey's still a huge star in like the mainstream world, and Nate Diaz is too. And MMA fans like the real MMA fans who aren't hating on this. They like the card because there's something for everybody on this. There's casual fandom that you could be that could be had with the main 3 fights. And then the rest of the card is really just like a love letter to the real MMA fans because there's some amazing matchups on there. And I'm not saying that they're going to be able to do this at scale and to compete with the UFC. I think we'll have to see how this event goes and see what they want to do from there. But even if they do something where it's like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 big events per year, that would add something to the MMA world. I wouldn't hate that. I don't think I think the ship has sailed for anybody competing with the UFC at this point. I mean, we're literally working on a video talking about that. Yeah. So which will come out in June. Stay tuned for that. But yeah, I just think that any excitement that can be added to the MMA world is a good thing, and this Netflix card is definitely doing that, in my opinion. The people who are hating are just like I can't imagine being like that miserable where you're like, no, I'd prefer like the UFC dull week to week stuff and the occasional racism and homophobia. But it's it's a different MMA world than when I got into it, that's for sure. But next week I will be covering that solo because you will be in Mexico for your sister's wedding. Congrats to her from THH. Oh. Yeah, you forgot about it?
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
Thank you on her behalf. Thank you. Very, very excited. It's going to be, roadcast from Mexico. Yeah,
from Mexico. The first international roadcast. We'll plan that out. We'll get that up sometime next week.
So yeah, hopefully I'll come back with lots of stories and stuff for you guys, and keep tabs on the MVP card as well. But
you know how I always I try to always come up with like a funny reason why you're gone for when I do a solo. For this one, I'm gonna say you joined the cartel.
Yeah, the cartel.
Like Tiz is in Guadalajara. He's never coming back. Like he's in the cartel now. But all right, guys, this has been a fun one. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe. Like I said, next week I'll be here solo recapping the MVP Netflix card. A lot of fun stuff coming
Yeah.
up this summer, man.
Yeah,
for,
and I
for
mean,
real.
I'll just make this one last point about the main event of UFC 328, because it really, really did come down to how you scored those last 3 rounds, and yeah, I think it really is, and why I think once again the split decision is fair. When no matter which way you slice it, it's okay. Sean Strickland didn't do enough damage to Khamzat, and then with the striking, and then even though he got up from the takedowns and stuff, and then Khamzat didn't do quite enough on when he did get the takedowns in round 5, and it was just very toss up. But to me, because Strickland didn't do enough damage, I think actually, yeah, a 48-47 to Chimaev probably was in order more than anything else.
And you know what? Like that point that you just made about like them both kind of just not doing enough to like really seal it in either of their best avenues. Yeah, I agree with that actually 100%. I think that that was probably what caused this fight to end the way that it did, and like with the scorecards. So yeah, I agree with that actually 100%.
Yeah.
So that's probably a good spot there. Now we finally agree on something with the main event.
Tell all you in Mexico.
See y'all.
Feel just like a superstar. Doing all these drugs, I don't think I'm gonna see tomorrow. Living fast, brand new dash up in a foreign car. It's the type of shit that you be doing when you gone.